After 2 games this season and 0 Premier League minutes, Kobbie Mainoo requested to be loaned out due to a lack of game time in a World Cup year. Now, Kobbie is one of, if not the most loved current players at United. A player who went from academy football to a Euros final in less than a year. A shining light in United's darker times. So why is he struggling for minutes? What does this mean for his future? What can he do himself to improve those chances? And why should United be doing everything they can to keep him? It's been a bit of a mad start to the season, really, for United. Performances have been there overall, but the results have not been there. Then the Grimsby game. Then, out of nowhere, Mainoo asking... I say out of nowhere? It was more of a shock rather than out of nowhere. Mainoo asking for that loan. And when you added that into the boiling pot of discontent, it sort of bubbled over. United fans were furious. So sort of how did it actually reach this situation is the first question I want to ask. To understand why United fans are so passionate about Kobbie's situation, you need to understand what he represents, really. When United were at their lowest under Ten Hag, getting hammered by rivals, toxic atmospheres and fans walking out early, we still had an 18-year-old who stepped up in the biggest moments. The FA Cup final against City. United was 6-1 underdogs. The season was a disaster. Ten Hag was getting sacked. A perfect stage for a teenager to crumble under pressure, but instead Kobbie calmly slotted away the goal that won United the FA Cup. And that was just one moment. When United bottled a 3-1 lead against Wolves in the 95th minute, it was Kobbie who stepped up with that 97th minute winner, ice in his veins against Liverpool at Old Trafford. Scored a beauty. And he did all of this at 18, playing like he'd been there for years. And all of these, they weren't just flukes. They were just representative of how calm and composed Kobbie is and still is as a player. And when you compare him to, well, the other midfielders that United have got, he has something special. He has something different. But currently is kind of being overlooked from a tactical reason. And I'll speak about how he needs to develop a little bit later in the video. But let's quickly focus on what he's already got naturally. It's not just the big moments, it's how he carries himself as well. Remember his debut at Goodison Park against Everton, that man of the match performance? And of course he's homegrown, the only Carrington graduate who's an established first team player right now. United's record of including academy players in matchday squads has stood since 1937, and Kobbie represents that continuation. He's culturally significant. When young players at Carrington dream of making it, they're dreaming of being the next Kobbie. So when a player like Kobbie asks for a loan move, it's basically him saying, I don't feel that Manchester United is the best place for me as a youngster to develop. And that kind of sends cultural shockwaves through a club which has prided itself on its use of youth, on promoting the youth, and sort of building on the youth that comes through from Carrington. But it's the tactical question that has caused problems and created blocks for Kobbie in this current United team. The midfield 2 means fewer spots are available and the requirements have changed drastically. Much more responsibility off the ball and more physicality is needed. Kobbie's second season was always going to be tough. He bulked up heavily, transformed from a boy to a man, but looked noticeably slower. Then the injury in October that kept him out for 7 games, and when Amram arrived, Kobbie was deployed as a number 10 at times, clearly trying to find his best position. So naturally going into this season, people had questions about Amram's plans for him.
He's a big talent, and you guys know better than me that he's a big talent. I think he needs to increase the rhythm, the pace. I'm always on top of that with Kobbie because he's so good sometimes, but he can be better.
I think going into this season, we were all excited about the big plans for Kobbie. He put in the hard yards with Euro in the off-season. Last season, the season after the Euros, he was fatigued, he had the injuries. It kind of felt like a stall, if you want to call it that. After Kobbie's incredible breakthrough, there was a little bit of a delay in his progress. And right now at Manchester United, Amram's made this clear. He's competing for a spot with Bruno Fernandes, which is a problem itself. As I said, after 2 games and no Premier League minutes, fans were furious and wanted him to get game time. The issue isn't necessarily that Bruno starts over him, it's that there's a complete monopoly on the position. Well, there was until the Burnley game. Bruno starts every game, plays 90 minutes every game, and Kobbie and Bruno starting together seems unlikely in Amram's tactical setup. So Kobbie made his feelings clear. He loves the club, but it's a World Cup year, so loan me out. And Amram's response shows he still absolutely rates him.
It's not that we are not interested in the success of Kobbie Mainoo or whatever. I have a big demands for him.
And speaking of right now, that's where things move forward. Kobbie came on for the second half against Burnley. And if you look at the injuries to Matheus Cunha and the injuries to Mason Mount, that's where chances in this team are going to come this season. There will be chances. It's just that I suppose Kobbie's a little bit impatient. Maybe not impatient, but anxious, eager to play in a World Cup year. Because when you see the likes of Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Elliot Anderson getting called up to the England squad ahead of Kobbie, he's got some way to go to force his way back into that Thomas Tuchel setup. And I suppose some of you might ask, is Kobbie worth it? Should United really care about keeping him? Let me tell you exactly why. You don't let talents like this walk away. If United put Kobbie up for sale, there'd be no shortage of elite suitors. He's arguably one of the most promising midfield talents in the world. But beyond ability, as I said, it's kind of what he represents as well. Selling one of United's best academy graduates in a position where we are not exactly littered with quality and depth would be a bit damaging, as Amram clearly sees his value when it matters most.
A few moments later.
But enough of sort of Amram's opinion on Kobbie. Enough of speaking about Kobbie's talent and what he is. What does he need to do right now? What does Kobbie need to develop this season to force his way into Amram's plans to the point where he can't take him out of the team? What can he do to get those minutes that he desperately wants? For Kobbie's development, learning from Bruno and working on his passing isn't necessarily the worst idea, but his talent and previous performances do need to be considered. He needs to get that fair chance for minutes. Can't just be content to sit around and wait for opportunities, and Kobbie needs to show that he can adapt to Amram's demands. His long passing does need a little bit of work, particularly his ability to quickly switch the ball to the opposite flank, because in Amram's system, that crossfield pass is crucial for stretching teams and creating overloads. More importantly, he needs to up the intensity of his play both in and out of possession. The tempo needs to be a bit higher, passing the ball around quicker, being more decisive in his decision-making. And defensively, he does need to be sharp at reacting to those loose balls, be first to those, winning second balls. It's going to be a massive part of United's game this season, and Kobbie can't afford to be a passenger in those duels in central midfield. These aren't major flaws, but they're just areas where a naturally talented player can improve with focus and application. He's obviously unhappy now, but the club needs to make him see the plan for the future and reassure him. He's proven to be ahead of his years on the pitch, and we've seen this summer with the way that he's handled the situation, that he's also mature off of it. No drama, no social media posts. He never causes drama. Now, the talent's undeniable, the love from fans is ubiquitous. The question is now whether United can find a way to keep their most promising academy product happy while building for the future. And right now, I think it's fair to say that this is a make or break season for Kobbie and United. Can Kobbie develop enough to force his way into Amram's Manchester United team? Are there areas of his game where he can improve on? He knows that, and I think he will. Will Amram give him the opportunities and the game time that that talent deserves so that he can show those improvements? I hope so. Because if neither of those two things happen, or one of them, if Amram doesn't give him the opportunities or Kobbie doesn't develop, I fear for what's next. But as I said earlier in this video, losing a talent like Kobbie from the academy without integrating and finding a way for him to fit in the team would feel very, very not Manchester United. So what's your expectations on Kobbie this season? This is a sort of an overview of what's happened so far, what's happening now, what I think needs to happen in the future. You can let me know what you think in the chat.